Hello and welcome back to the Birdcage. I am Jack Kenna, joined alongside Alex King, and today we will be recapping Creighton by the week, pretty much. It's a ruckus down here in Lawrence. We haven't had enough time to really get on a podcast, so this is kind of our weekly recap, and we're going to start it off with the Kansas game. Creighton Bluejays defeated the Kansas Jayhawks 76 to 63. Pretty sure that's just off the dome.
Yeah, you
That's
got
wrong,
it
correct me.
on the dot.
But that was a really great game for the Creighton Blue Jays.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I expected this not at all. As you can tell by our podcast, I had zero hope in this team, but all of a sudden we came out and shot like 41% from three, and
Yeah,
we still turned the ball over a lot, but I mean, it was a fantastic game all the way around.
it really was. It was what I told everybody. It was rooted in the defense. Our team has been unable to guard anybody all season up until Kansas,
Yeah.
which is impressive because that's the best team we've played all season. In the grand scheme of things, if DeJuan Harris is making those 5, 6 footers, the game's different, but that's not how it went down.
Yeah.
And we actually guarded the ball really well. This is a Kansas team that averages over 80 points per game, and they had 63.
Yeah, we held the preseason All-Americans first teamer Hunter Dickinson to 6 points. Kalkbrenner really locked him down, and he really outplayed him all the way around. I mean, Kalkbrenner had 17 and 10, and all while being injured. Like he really showed what he could do.
Hunter Dickinson was ineffective on
Yeah,
Wednesday, and that was because of the guy across from him. What a game for Ryan Kalkbrenner. Hunter Dickinson's not an easy task. Like I say that weirdly because he's a first team All American. Well,
yeah. You think
preseason
that'd be
first team All
obvious?
American. And he's a very capable of putting up 20 points and a double double night in, night out. But Ryan Kalkbrenner really took this matchup personal and didn't let Dickinson do anything.
Yeah, honestly, at times he looked kind of lost defensively, like on the pick and rolls, and then a couple times Kalkbrenner even just got lost. I don't know how you lose a 7'2" man like in a basketball game, but somehow he was lost under the rim a couple times and just got the ball in for easy
Yeah.
dunks.
It's funny because Ryan Cole or Hunter Dickinson, excuse me, has never been able to guard the pick and roll.
Yeah.
But Kalkbrenner made that very obvious to
Hmm.
anybody who hasn't known that before and hasn't suspected bad ball screen coverage from Hunter Dickinson. It was very apparent that he could not guard the pick and roll on Wednesday. And it's funny because our worlds are colliding. Usually it's we're going to watch a Kansas team and then we're going to go watch a Creighton team. And usually both teams play good. In the past, both teams have played good. And this year it's been a lot of Kansas has played really good. Creighton's losing games to Nebraska and Texas A&M, games that they probably should have won. But this was it was almost weird. Have you ever seen the movie Thunderstruck
Yeah, with the
with Kevin
yes.
Durant?
Yeah.
That's kind of what it was. It was like a power switch, I think.
Yeah, it was really weird because I know you were at the game, but I was completely in enemy territory. I mean, all my friends, it was like a twenty dudes in a room, and I was the one screaming every time Creighton would score. So I got a
Yeah.
lot of dirty looks. But I mean, it was so weird because I mean, I watched KU and I watched Creighton, and then finally they collide, and it felt really good to get that win.
It's funny because Kansas was shorthanded without Rylan Griffin. However, Creighton has been shorthanded all season. I mean, Pop Isaacs didn't play the first game of the year. Ryan Kolkbrenner had to sit against Notre Dame. He was questionable to play against Kansas, even though everyone and their mom knew he was going to play that game.
Yeah.
Stephen Ashworth has a busted ankle, was coming back, and he still wasn't. You cannot tell me he is fully healed. He has recovered from that. Ankle injuries are tough to go through. And frankly, Pop Isaacs is dealing with a hip injury, and we'll talk about Pop Isaacs. Some news broke about him yesterday. But I was very impressed with the Creighton team that I saw on Wednesday. What were your initial, not initial prediction, but like what were your initial feelings after that win?
Well, I mean, we obviously have to give Pop Isaacs his flowers. I mean, that was insane. And I
Yeah.
think this was kind of a personal matchup for him, considering the Texas Tech ties. Like he's played Kansas the last couple of years. Obviously, they got the better of him. but I mean, he was out of his mind. I mean,
Yeah.
let's see, he went 6 for 9 from three. He had 27 points, 7 rebounds, and 4 assists. I mean, he was perfect. And he even hit like
Yeah.
the tough ass turnaround three, like the first three he made, and right in front of the KU bench, it was like a Steph Curry look away three. And that had me feeling some type of way. Like Bob Isaacs was amazing. And
Mhm.
without him, I don't think we could have won this game.
Yeah, Creighton jumped out to an early lead and really never looked back. Kansas didn't lead the entire game.
Game.
And we'll talk about Kansas later in a different video because they just lost again tonight against Missouri. But this is just not the same Kansas team that we saw the first few weeks of the year. Creighton really played their drop coverage perfectly.
Hmm.
They forced DeJuan Harris to shoot a career high 21 field goal attempts. And let me tell you, if DeJuan Harris is going to lead your team in shots, you're not going to win a game.
Yeah, I'll tell you, we also forced like AJ Store to take some weird mid-range jumpers, and that's also just not his game. Zeke Mayo had a rough shooting night.
Zeke
KJ
Mill was
Adams,
ineffective in the second half. He had, I think,
yeah,
12 points at halftime and nothing really in the second half. He
yeah.
kind of he was locked down.
The defensive scheme that put up by Greg McDermott, we can't say that very often. Like a lot of times we just don't succeed very well defensively. We outscore teams, but holding the number one team in the country to 63 points and only 35% field goal percentages, that's a great game plan.
Yeah, Ryan Kalkbrenner's really good defensively. Steven Ashworth and Pop Isaacs had great games. They both had over 17 points and really made DeJuan Harris and Zeke Mayo and AJ Storr, whoever their matchups were on those particular defensive possessions, really work to get tough shots. And
Hmm.
it was amazing to watch as a quote unquote neutral fan because I was covering Kansas that night. But they just didn't look good. Bill Self pointed out in the press conference that Creighton won about, he felt like 80%, 75% of those loose balls.
This is true.
And on the road, you have to win that because if you can't win loose balls on the road, it's going to be a tough, tough game. And Creighton really utilized their crowd. Like, say what you want about the CHI Health Center in the past, it hasn't been a crazy environment, and that wasn't the case on Wednesday.
Yeah, it sounded really loud, and obviously I didn't have the honor of being there.
Hmm.
But I mean, my family was there, and you were there, and it sounded really loud on TV. But I think a big part of this game also was we got a little bit of bench production from Mason Miller finally. He
Hmm.
he hit two threes after being like 1 for 18 before this game. So it was really good that he got some confidence. But I mean, and Fred King had 2 points even though he had played only 2 minutes. But it would be nice to get a little bit more productive from like Ty Davis and Isaac Trout, but he actually, once we talk about UNLV, he had a great game. But just
Yeah.
if those guys continue to get better, I think this team really has a shot to be really good.
I think Trout and Green, even though they didn't show up really in the box score offensively, did a lot of good things on defense. To their credit, they were guarding KJ Adams most of the night. And KJ Adams is a lot of coaches don't like, or a lot of fans don't like KJ Adams, but a lot of coaches don't like playing against KJ
He's
Adams.
an athletic monster.
And those guys really did really well on KJ Adams. I mean, they held Dickinson, KJ Adams to low numbers in this box score. And whenever you can get those kind of defensive games for Creighton, I think they're going to be a tough team to beat. And it doesn't help that it was dollar beer night. That kind of helps a little bit.
Yeah, that kind of boosts the vibes all the way around.
Overall, what would you rate the Kansas win on a scale of 1 to 10?
Well, as far as like how we played, I mean, I'd give it a 9, but like we really needed this win, considering how low we were as a team and how bad we looked in Vegas. So I mean, it has to be a 10 because it's number one team in the country. It's after like a 2 of 3 or a 3 of 4, sorry, skid. Like we really looked bad for a long time, and then this was really what we needed to get our confidence back, I think. And I was listening to the post game presser, and that's exactly what Greg McDermott said. He's like, "This is what we needed for guys to buy in, to know that I know what I'm talking about, and like to really trust the coaches and trust each other." And that was definitely needed.
Yeah, it sure helps when everyone's on the same page. And we outplayed a very, very good Kansas team the entire game. There was a maybe a 3, 4 minute stretch where I thought Kansas was going to win that game, and that was Kansas's run to start the second half.
Hmm.
But after that, Creighton just took control. Every time Kansas looked like they were going to get something and make a little bit of a run, Creighton did something and just killed any momentum, any energy Kansas had. I think of the play where Zeke Mayo arguably got fouled and it got poked away, no call, led to a Pop Isaacs setback 3-pointer, and
And
Bill
then the
Self had to call a timeout and got teed up. And it's like that's just it was a 6 point game, then it was an 11 point game.
hmm
Huge momentum shift because Creighton really didn't do anything wrong on Wednesday. It was electric to actually watch what this Creighton team can do when everyone's playing really well. It was a fun team to watch.
Yeah, that was a much needed win, and I'm glad we got it.
And then yesterday, the Creighton Bluejays played UNLV and what some people were worried would be a hangover game. We got some bad news that we'll talk about before we recap that game. Junior guard, kind of like combo guard, Pop Isaacs, is done for the year. He had hip surgery today, so hopefully Pop had a very good hip surgery. He can get back. I don't know. How do you congratulate somebody or wish someone well who's having a hip surgery?
Yeah, I don't really know if there's much to say
Aren't you
there,
going to
but
be a doctor? Like, what's the proper way?
like to congratulate him on hip surgery.
Yeah. I hope your hip surgery goes well.
Yeah,
Is that
I
good
hope
enough?
it feels good, bro. I don't
I
know.
hope your hip starts to feel good pretty soon.
Yeah.
I mean, I was distraught.
Yeah, it just came out of nowhere because I just woke up in the morning and I get text messages from our group chat like, how could this, like, it was just so random after
And
his,
I was reffing little kid basketball in the morning. In between halves, I see a text from your dad saying, Pop's out for the year. Check Twitter. Goodman's posting about it. And it was just like, dang. He had a great game against Kansas, and all of a sudden he's can't really move. And he had a hip surgery this summer, which kept him out for, I'm assuming, a while.
yeah.
I don't know how long hip surgery takes, but he'll be out for the rest of the year now. So I'm hoping he can get a medical red shirt. I don't think that's crazy, right?
Yeah, I don't think that's crazy. I mean, he played 8 games, 7 games. I don't know. I don't know how the medical red shirt works, but like this just sucks because thinking about like the injury bug that Creighton's got in the past with like Zagorowski got hurt at the end of a year, but then ended up
Brenner,
getting
Nemhard.
Faulkner and Nemhard.
Even before that, Mo Watson,
Yeah, Maurice Watson,
like Martin
Martin
Krompel.
Crumple. Yeah, it's just the big players that get hurt. Like it's not that I want a bench guy to get hurt, but like it's never the bench guy that gets hurt. It's like the glue guy or like a guy that's really important.
And it's weird because if you would have asked me on Tuesday, by Saturday, we would have had, well, by Thursday, well, I'll say by Tuesday, I would have thought Fedor Zusic played his first game as a Creighton Blue Jay, and I would have assumed we would have had a more healthy team. And that just is not the case, and we don't know what's going on with Fedor right now,
I'll
but
tell you what, we're getting fake news like crazy with the
we are
Fedora.
I don't understand what's going on, and not I will not listen to anything on Twitter until I see it with my own eyes.
Yeah, I'm getting angry about that.
And so I just can't believe what's going on right now. But we didn't have Pop Isaacs yesterday, and that's going to be a real blow. Maybe not against UNLV, but it's going to be a blow come Big East play. We're
Yeah, I
going to
mean,
need a step up in production from Neal, a step up in production from Trout and Green and Miller.
but like Ty Davis is the guy who's probably gonna. Well, I don't know. He needs to probably replace a lot of those minutes because he's like a guard, but I just don't know how good he can be scoring wise. So we have to get step ups from the other guys.
And I'm not going to speak on Fedor. I'm not until I
What
see
we
him actually play. I would love to say Fedor can come in and kind of replace a little bit what Papa's doing, but Fedor wasn't a part of our initial plan. He was like a cherry on top that we could get him late in the summer. And we just don't know what's going on right now
But
with that entire situation.
he was always kind of a lottery ticket, but it would be really nice if we could cash that out and get some Spanish buckets on our team
A
or
lot
whatever.
of people were talking about the roster construction, saying how this was a poorly constructed team with a lot of fours whose roles are really ever changing. I mean, a Jason Green or a Mason Miller or an Isaac Trout really don't know how many minutes they're going to get night in, night out.
Mhm.
And that's got to be one of the toughest roles to play as a college basketball player.
Yeah,
Like an
well, if you
Isaac Trout or a Mason Miller, excuse me, I'm going to kind of interrupt you. Like a
oh, you're good.
shooter who doesn't know how many minutes they're going to play, like that's got to be hard.
Yeah, well, if you look at our starting lineup against UNLV, it was Jackson McAndrew, who's like a four, Mason Miller, who's a four, Kalkbrenner, who's a five, Jemiah Neal, who's a three-ish, and then Ashworth, who's a one. It's just we don't have guards like a ones and twos now that Pop Isaacs is out. We're just very lacking,
What
which
would
is
you
scary
play? What would your ideal starting lineup be?
with who we have right now.
Yeah, with everyone we have, assuming Fedor will not play.
Okay, well, obviously
Everyone we just saw against UNLV.
you have Ashworth, Kalkbrenner, and Jemiah Neal. The way Trout played, I mean Trout, and then we need another guard. So I mean, probably Ty Davis, I guess, but he just hasn't really earned that spot. But I just don't know if we can rock with that big of a lineup every time.
I think I would go with Ashworth one. The two's going to be Neal. Your three would probably be McAndrew at 6'9".
Yeah,
Your four would be Trout, and then your five would be Kalkbrenner. But I could see a world where Jason Green plays that three and McAndrew plays the four and Trout's still coming off the bench just to give us a little more athleticism.
yeah,
Because I think Jason Green's athletic,
yeah,
but this
yeah.
year I haven't really been blown away by anything I've seen from him. And I think Trout's probably the most deserving out of Miller, Green, and Trout to get that starting lineup spot.
And
But
Miller hasn't showed anything,
but
and he's
really, I think Jason Green's probably a little more athletic than Isaac Trout, even though I did see Isaac Trout shoot a one-legged fadeaway and try to blow by somebody yesterday
yeah
in
for one time
UNLV game.
he played very confident. As we can get into the UNLV game, Isaac Trout was the player of the game in this. Like he came out of nowhere. He went 5 for 7 from three, 5 rebounds. He was athletic. He looked. This was the Trout that we thought that we had this whole time.
If we can get an Isaac Trout not even averaging 15 a game, if we can get a Trout who can average 9 to 12
Hmm.
a game and provide some spark, I really like where we're at. I feel like Miller and Green are feeling a little more confident every day. Maybe I'm wrong by assuming
Yeah,
that, but
I mean
Green
Green
is
went
really growing into his role a little bit. I'm wondering why
yeah,
it took him so long. Because before the year, everyone was assuming he was going to be our starter instead of McAndrew or Trout. And it took him, I think Creighton is now 7-3. So it took him 10 games to kind of start feeling like, or playing at least like where he kind of was at last year.
yeah. Well, in this game, McKendry got hurt pretty early. I think he'll be fine, but he like rolled his ankle. So then Jason Green and Isaac Trout both had to step up, and they did. I mean, Green went 2 for 2 from three, 5 for 5 total with 12 points, and Trout had 15. Like that was a big step up. Mason Miller had did nothing. I don't know what's going on with him. He really needs to step it up a little bit. But like the other two fours really stepped up when McKendry went down, and that was a good sign.
Yeah, and I think McAndrew will play a huge role later in the year.
Yeah.
We really need to get healthy. I was talking to my roommate about it. He was saying how this is a trap game and we should dominate UNLV. He obviously does not know that Creighton will always struggle with Mountain West teams.
Hmm.
I didn't want to even bring that up because I knew if I did, we would lose again. But we consistently struggle with teams that want to press us in the half court and want to get up in our grill because in the past few years, we just haven't been very athletic. And now we are missing one of our most athletic players because he's out for the year. And then in like the first 5 minutes, you see McAndrew go down. And then you see Kalkbrenner go down, and he had to go sit for a little bit, and you could tell he was not feeling great the rest of the game.
Hmm.
Ashworth's coming off a bummy ankle. You're just like,
I think
this
we're very
is,
lucky. We're very lucky that this UNLV team was not very good, and
yeah,
we're also very lucky that we have a week break until our next game to get a little healthy. I mean,
yeah,
you said it yourself, Kalkbrenner hasn't practiced in a few weeks now, and
yeah. I don't think he has.
Ashworth's still apparently in a boot, like outside of basketball, which I don't even understand how you could do that. Like, how can you walk around in a boot and then play a full basketball game? But
Yeah, that is complete speculation per the security guard who says he witnessed Stephen Ashworth come in on crutches and a boot before the game. I feel like that'd be kind of something weird to make
yeah,
up,
I thought that wouldn't make much sense though.
but I just don't know how he did it. How does Stephen Ashworth walk into the arena the day of the Kansas game in a boot and crutches and then put up 17 points?
Yeah, that
I
doesn't
don't
make
get it.
sense.
It was a terrific outing from Stephen Ashworth, and if that's true, I really hope he utilizes this week to get right. A lot of this team just hasn't practiced a whole bunch because of injuries, and I'm really glad they get a week off now. We'll kind of switch our focus onto the UNLV game now. I know we've already sort of talked about it a little bit, but that was a really great game from Isaac Trout off the bench. Really great game from Jason Green off the bench. Both of those guys need to get hot if this Creighton team wants to actually do something because we're missing a void. We need to fill the void. Jemiah Neal played really good. How
Yeah,
many
we haven't
threes
mentioned
did
him.
Jemiah Neal attempt yesterday?
He went 0 for 2.
Oh, that's good. He only attempted two.
Yeah, but besides threes, he was 5 for 9.
Okay,
So I mean,
that's
or
really
sorry,
good.
he was 7 for 9. He was 7 for 9 on twos. So I mean, if he just
Okay.
sticks plays his game, I mean, he was 1 assist and 1 rebound off of a triple double. I mean, he had a great game.
Yeah, I think Jemiah Neal should just continue to shoot inside the 3-point arc.
I agree.
And I think he should also just shoot layups and dunks because his mid-range kind of scares me. It's a little iffy. He can make it. I feel a lot more confident now than I did a week ago about Jemiah Neal shooting a mid-range shot, just because I've watched it kind of go in now a few times, especially the Notre Dame game. That Notre Dame game, he played terrific. But we're really going to need him to step up. Jason Green didn't miss against UNLV. I don't know how he'll be able to kind of continue to build off of that, but I hope he's able to. And Isaac Trout, I think, is really gonna have to take a step up. I saw a Cray Takes edit of Isaac Trout earlier. I don't know how this didn't cross my Instagram earlier in the year because he posted this like a month ago, and it's a picture of Isaac Trout, and the background's supposed to be underwater, and there's his number and a fish coming out of his side, and it just says something's getting fishy. That's the
What?
caption. It was posted by Cray Takes. I'll send it to
Wow.
you later. I
Wow,
saw that today and I was like, what kind of edit is this?
that
But
sounds epic.
whatever, I'll send it to you.
Wait, I'll
But
tell
we're
you what.
really going to need to see an Isaac Trout who can really step up. And I think he
uh,
does a lot of good things defensively, which an Isaac like a year ago we would not have been able to say. But every time Isaac Trout's been in a game this year, I don't feel like he's a liability.
yeah, I agree.
Sometimes he gets burned, but everyone gets burned sometimes. I don't feel like he's necessarily a liability like he kind of sort of was last year, which really limited his playing time. And I'm really glad that shots are falling for him.
Yeah, well, that was his strength coming into college was his shooting, and he really showed that today. But yes, his defense has drastically improved. Like he's playable now. He can actually guard guys, and he's doing a great job at it. And I'll tell you what, Fred King, I'm very impressed with him. He's gotten so much better.
Yeah, I agree. Fred King has shown that he can be a very competent backup center. I don't know why we didn't go to Fred King a little more yesterday. It kind of
Yeah,
looked like Kalkbrenner wasn't feeling the best. I think that could have been a game where Fred King really stepped up. But backtracking a little bit to Trout, he's shooting 39% pretty much from three this year. And that number I think is going to go up. He shot pretty poor for a little bit of the season so far, a little stretch in the season so far. So I'm hoping that number goes up because he can really knock down some shots. And there's been a few games where that just hasn't been showcased.
yeah. If he continues to get better, I mean, 5 for 7 today. Obviously, he's not going to shoot 5 for 7 every game, but he's not going. I think it's definitely on a trending upwards. I think end of the year he'll be in the 41 to 42% range, which would be great for us if he could shoot that well.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Notre Dame, Fred King, I think could arguably have been like what would they call it, newcomer of the year? They don't call it that. Most improved players, the NBA
Yeah,
award I was thinking of. He
yeah,
played terrific against Notre Dame.
yeah. He looked amazing. Like I don't know where the hell that guy came from, but I want to see him all
14 points, 4 blocks, 5 fouls, but that's okay, Fred King. We get it. You can't
typical.
be perfect.
No,
But usually we time how long it is until Fred King gets a foul in our group chat. And he didn't foul out until about 3 or 4, 5 minutes left in the game.
but hey, that's pretty impressive, Fred.
That's very impressive, Fred King. Good job. But I think he can actually be a very calm, like, I guess, in situations like, hey, Brenner needs a rest. Let's go play Fred King for 2 minutes, like you kind of saw against Kansas. But I'm looking at our roster, and I'm just really hoping we can get a man by the name of Fedor back. If we can get
Yeah,
him eligible, I think the ceiling of this team is how is really high. And
yeah. I
if
think
we
he fills the
can't,
hole that we really need.
yeah. And if we can't, I'm a little more skeptical because then we're gonna need to rely on Jemiah Neal and Trout and Miller and Green to really play, and McAndrew, who's a freshman, to really play huge roles. And I think all of those players are capable of playing roles, but how quick can you get them to adjust to this new team? That I don't know. We squeaked
Yeah,
by UNLV, but like our we play
you say squeaked by.
Alabama.
We won by 18, but it was close for a while.
Yeah, I mean we play Alabama next week. I guess on Friday. It's
I'm
Sunday
scared
now.
of that
Play
game.
them on Friday, and that's an away game. That's our first true away test of the year. And I see the writing on the wall. I don't know if this is going to go over very well, but we'll probably preview that game as long as you're not too busy. We'll pregame. We'll preview. I said pregame. We're not going to pregame the preview, even though that'd be
Yeah, we might.
funny.
It'd be kind of fun if we pre-gamed it.
We might, maybe we will. That's a good idea. We should probably do something like that.
Have a pre-game preview and then see how it goes.
Yeah. We'll see if people watch that. That would be kind of funny, I think. I think you'd be able to tell my cheeks would be so red.
Yeah, you get a little rosy.
I get rosy. Overall, the week I think was a 5 or a 6 out of 10. Would have been a 10 out of 10 if we didn't lose Pop.
True.
But sadly, I think that's just Creighton basketball. That's the nature of athletics. Stuff happens sometimes.
The athletics, that's the way the ball rolls.
That's the way
Go
the ball
adapt.
rolls. Hopefully, ball doesn't lie. We defeated UNLV yesterday. What was the score to that game? I know it wasn't
83,
super close.
63-65.
83-65 against the running Rebels. We are back on Friday, right?
Saturday.
Saturday, taking on the Alabama Crimson Tide. Is that going to be on Fox Sports?
It is on the SEC
FS1?
network.
SEC Network?
Yeah, gross.
We'll
I'm not,
talk
I'm not,
about that game in a preview.
yeah, I
But
just puked it a little bit.
yeah, I don't know. Hopefully we use this time to rest up, get ready for Bama because we're going to need everyone playing their best.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how it goes, but I have low hopes. They'll probably increase as slowly as we get towards the game, as they did with the Kansas game. I ended up cashing out of a bet for Kansas and putting it all on Creighton, so I won my bet. But yeah, I hope we get healthy.
There you go. Any final thoughts?
No, it was a good week. Obviously, it sucks to lose Pop, but I really like seeing guys step up like Green and Trout. If they can continue to play well, I'm excited to see how this team goes, and I think it's we're on the uphill.
Yeah, I agree. It was a blow, but we will be back. I appreciate you taking the time to chit chat with me about some Creighton basketball. And I know I will reach out later in the week for sure. Do you have any finals coming up that you
Uh,
need to study for?
Yeah, I have like three finals, but I'll don't worry, I'll make time for my Jays.
There you go. You'll make time for your Jays, so will I. Creighton Blue Jays went 2-0 this week. You just heard our thoughts about the rest of the year and those two games earlier in the week. I appreciate you guys for listening, and we will see you guys next time.